Welcome back to the Road Show. This morning, The Buzz. Some parents may rely on spanking their kids to teach them right from wrong, but in a new study, the Journal of Pediatrics says that approach could backfire. In fact, researchers say that spanking children leads to aggressive behavior. They looked at data on nearly 2,500 kids, and more than half of which were spanked in the month before their interview. Researchers found that children who were spanked were frequently at age 3 were more likely to be aggressive by age 5. They believe it makes kids do what they're told in the short term, but in the long term, they say it doesn't work. And there's always this battle between, do we spank our kids, do we not spank our kids? What do you think, Patrick?
Well, speaking as the parent out here on the panel, I've never been tempted to spank my children. And my son will be 8 in July, and my daughter just turned 5. I don't ever recall being that, shall we say, motivated to discipline. Now, I will say this.
Have they always been that well-behaved, or has a situation come up?
Well, no, I mean, there's been situations where you know what the good thing is, you have this look, the parent look,
yes.
You give them the old, like...
The 1, 2, 3.
And then you count to 3. I don't know why that works. 1, 2, and usually when you get to 2, they behave. But... I can remember, and I'm going to get spanked for this because I know my parents are probably watching. I do recall getting spanked more than I'm spanking. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But
was that conscious for you? Did you think, well, I didn't like when it happened to me, I'm not going to do it to my kids?
I will say, let me clarify that remark. My mom spanked me a lot more than my dad did. My dad had that look where he was like, I remember being in the car one time, and he was driving along, and my sister and I are in the back seat. She's 2 years younger than me, and we were battling over something that was probably not worth battling over. And he said, I'm going to pull this car over and smash you. And that was the last time I think I ever...
That's like identical.
I tell you what, there are people... I mean, every day there seems to be a new study that conflicts, back and forth with different things. Some people, the reason that they do spank is they say, listen, there's a certain age where you can't reason with a child, and you need to, it's a very small zone, though.
Spanking zone?
Spanking zone, because it's that time period when they're old enough to know they have to listen to mommy and daddy, but they're too young really to be reasoned with, and that's why a swift hand to the booty is enough to get their attention and get their focus their attention and get them to stop what they're doing and to realize the ramifications. But a lot of people say, listen, there are other ways of handling that behavior, and since it is such a small window, you really don't need that.
We are raising our kids to be kind of wimpy in this generation. I mean,
interesting.
I was a man of the 80s. That was the last hardcore generation. I think.
Wooden spoon?
No, I never got the wooden spoon, but I got an occasional, I wasn't spanked on, consistently, but I got the occasional spank,
Whack.
which I think can be, I think it can work from time to time. I mean, have you ever seen the kids in the mall that have complete control over their parents, and their parents are ready to pull their hair out? It's like, give the kid a nice little, there's a big difference between beating your children and giving them the occasional reprimand and, a spank, and I think it works. I think
you're right. There are lots of times where you see really who wears the pants in what family.
I mean, kids at that certain age, you see them all the time in the supermarket and in the mall having complete control over the parents, and it's because the kid knows he can get away with whatever he wants.
But you can, there could be ramifications verbally and that sort of thing.
But I mean, what Patrick said, what happens when you get to 3, and then little Connor realizes nothing's going to happen? Well, hopefully that won't, but there are kids out there that say 1,
Don't tell
2,
him there's nothing after 3.
Here's the thing.
They're in school, but
here's the other thing that I do remember real quick is that I remember when my mom would spank me, I used to think, I can't wait till I'm taller than her, and the next time she tries to spank me and I'm bigger than her, I'll show her. I mean, we never got to that point, but I was looking forward to that. I never got there though. So, Mom, if you want to have a wrestling match, I'm ready for you.
We're going to throw it over to Courtney because, Courtney, a lot of people have two very strong different points of view, spanking or not spanking, and sometimes those two people might be married to each other. So I'm interested to hear what our viewers are saying.
What's interesting is we're all sharing stories from the past, and what happened then and what's happening now with their children differs. So, over time, you think differently and you remember being in their shoes, and that's what they're thinking. Maybe it wasn't so effective. But we have lots of comments here and on Facebook, so we'll start on foxprovidence.com. mom, and this one is from Lisa, and she says, discipline, consequences, punishment all usually work well enough. And this one's from Jerry. He said, I never had to hit my girls, even when we used to take them to fancy restaurants. They were always good, no tantrums. And Lisa agreed and said her 3 older ones behaved in school and public, that they were such good kids. And the rest of the stories here talk about from when they were children and not what they're doing now. So you can catch up and join us on the show and log on right now. Here's the poll right under the live blog. When is it okay to spank a child? A, never. Spanking can teach violence. B, sometimes it's an effective punishment. Or C, only as a last resort. And we've also posted a story with the link to that study if you want to read some more. There's about 10 comments on Facebook so far. They've been weighing in all morning. And Antoinette Anderson says, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I guess every situation is different. I do not spank my child, but I did get spanked as a child. And the only thing I remember from that time is thinking, if I do this and get caught, I'm going to get a spanking. And most of the time, I chose not to do it because I didn't want to get spanked. So you can log on lots of different ways. But in about a half hour, I'll have the answers to the poll results for today. But for now, we're going to head